A Trump's America First, a step back from global alliances.
Assembled here today are issuing a new decree to be heard in every city, in every foreign capital, and in every hall of power. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first. Every decision on trade, on taxes, on immigration, on foreign affairs will be made to benefit American workers and American families. We must protect our borders from the ravages of other countries, making our products, stealing our companies, and destroying our jobs.
In recent years, President Donald Trump has taken a different approach to global leadership, undermining alliances, questioning America's commitments, and shifting the nation's foreign policy direction. At the 2018 NATO summit, Trump openly criticized America's closest allies and even suggested the US could withdraw from the alliance. The same criticism continued before and after taking office in January 2025.
Yeah, NATO was busted until I came along. I said, everybody's going to pay. They said, well, if we don't pay, are you still going to protect us? I said, absolutely not. They couldn't believe the answer.
Within days of swearing in, President Trump imposed tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and the European Union, straining economic partnerships that had lasted for decades, including some trade deals negotiated during his first term in office. As Russia waged war on Ukraine, Trump's statement suggested he would not support European allies, causing concern among NATO members. His recent remarks, calling President Zelensky a dictator and blaming him for starting the war with Russia.
Every city is being demolished. They look like a demolition site, every single one of them. And the only thing he was really good at was playing Joe Biden like a fiddle. He played him like a fiddle. That's an expression we use, yes, sir, to say that he's pretty easy. A dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast or he's not going to have a country left. Got to move fast.
Along with the Oval Office's humiliation of Zelensky, signal to American allies that they may be left to fend for themselves. Additionally, Vice President J.D. Vance's comments at the Munich Security Conference further emphasize this shift.
I also ask you, how will you even begin to think through the kinds of budgeting questions if we don't know what it is that we are defending in the first place? Or is to discuss security, and normally we mean threats to our external security. I see many great military leaders gathered here today. But while the Trump administration is very concerned with European security and believes that we can come to a reasonable settlement between Russia and Ukraine, and we also believe that it's important in the coming years for Europe to step up in a big way to provide for its own defense, the threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within. The retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values, values shared with the United States of America.
This aligns with President Trump's America First approach to foreign policy and trade, prioritizing U.S. interests over international alliances. But this was not always the American way. Throughout history, U.S. presidents have understood that the nation's strength comes not from isolation, but from its alliances. George Washington, in his farewell address in 1796, warned against entangling alliances, but also emphasized the importance of trade and diplomacy, advocating for friendly relations with all nations. In the darkest days of World War II, President Franklin D. Roosevelt understood that America's strength depended on working with allies. He led the U.S. into the United Nations and built global coalitions, famously declaring, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." We must be the great arsenal of democracy. As the Cold War loomed, President Harry S. Truman championed the formation of NATO, ensuring collective security against Soviet aggression, stating, "The United States is willing to join with other free nations in the world to maintain peace and security." In his 1961 inaugural address, John F. Kennedy reaffirmed America's commitment to alliances, strengthening NATO and the United Nations to defend freedom, declaring, "Let every nation know that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe to assure the survival and the success of liberty." Even in the height of the Cold War, President Ronald Reagan knew America's strength came from working with allies, not standing alone. He reinforced NATO and later engaged with Soviet leaders to reduce tensions, stating, "America's moral leadership in the world depends on alliances of free people." In 1991, President George H.W. Bush built a strong international coalition to liberate Kuwait, proving that America's alliances were essential for global security, and declared, "The success of our cause is due to the cooperation of nations united in a common purpose." Bill Clinton, in the 1990s, expanded NATO and championed international trade agreements, reinforcing America's global leadership with the reminder, "America cannot lead without allies." After the tragic events of September 11th, President George W. Bush worked with allies to form a global coalition against terrorism, showing the power of international unity. He remarked, "The strength of our alliances is a reflection of America's strength." President Barack Obama, throughout his terms in 2009 and 2013, reinforced diplomacy as America's strength, strengthening alliances in Europe and Asia.
Recall that earlier generations faced down fascism and communism not just with missiles and tanks, but with the sturdy alliances and enduring convictions. They understood that our power alone cannot protect us, nor does it entitle us to do as we please. Instead, they knew that our power grows through its prudent use. Our security emanates from the justness of our cause, the force of our example, the tempering qualities of humility and restraint.
President Joe Biden, from 2021 to his handover in January 2025, has re-emphasized the importance of NATO, US-EU relations and alliances in the Indo-Pacific, proclaiming, "America is back. Diplomacy is back at the center of our foreign policy."
Message to the world. America is back. America is back. Diplomacy is back. You are the center of all that I intend to do.
And yet, today, America stands at a crossroads. While past presidents embraced alliances as the cornerstone of national strength, President Trump has openly questioned them. For over 2 centuries, America's greatest leaders understood that the nation's strength comes from unity, with their people and with their allies. As history shows, alliances are not a burden. They are the foundation of global power. The question remains, will the US continue this legacy or turn away from the world? Thank you for watching Freedom Square News. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment.
Freedom Square.